Hello and welcome to a new series I've started. Still going to do the Kerbal Space Program Realistic Space Program series, but this is just on Fridays I'm going to try to do just kind of a fun off-topic random video, but I have been wanting to do a series on Homeworld for a very long time. It was one of the biggest games of my childhood. I still remember getting it for the 1999 Game of the Year edition for my 15th birthday. It had soundtrack, strategy guide, glorious novel-sized manual like they used to pack in. But it's one of my top 3 games of all time. Just the level of reverence here. It's going to get kind of fanboyish up in here, but I really can't avoid that. So with that said, I'm just going to get out of the way and let the intro play.
Years ago, a satellite detected an object under the sands of the Great Desert. An expedition was sent. An ancient starship buried in the sand. Deep inside the ruin was a single stone that would change the course of our history forever. On the stone was etched a galactic map and a single word more ancient than the clans themselves. Higara, our home. The clans were united, and a massive colony ship was designed. Construction would take 60 years. It would demand new technologies, new industries, and new sacrifices. The greatest of these was made by the scientist Karen Sajet, who had herself permanently integrated into the colony ship as its living core. She is now Fleet Command. The promise of the Guide Stone united the entire population. Every mind became focused on the true origin of our people. Every effort on the construction of the ship that would seek it out among the stars.
All stations green. You got it. Phase 8, 9, and 10 sealed. Scaffold decks A, B, C secure. All systems green. What a beautiful sight.
This is Fleet Command. Reporting Mothership pre-launch status. Command online. Resourcing online. Construction online. Cryogenic subsections A through J online. K through S online. Scaffold control, stand by for alignment. Alignment confirmed. Stand by, release control.
All caliber banks released.
The mothership has cleared the scaffold. We are away. Stand by for command line testing.
Command line green, initial fleet in position.
$15 later, and I still get the goosebumps. There's a couple things I had to do to get it running widescreen.
Intelligence going on.
You got to run it in compatibility mode for Windows NT 4.0, and even then, it's still kind of.
Before the hyperdrive
See, it's got the
test,
planet
several
stretched in the
trials
background,
must be
but
completed.
all in
Test
all, it's one of the
construction
better
by building the primary
games you
research
can
ship.
get running, older games running in
Test
widescreen.
resource processing by harvesting the asteroids provided nearby.
This is a quick tutorial mission.
Hyperspace module
But
charging.
It's
35% capacity.
one of the better
and
tutorials
rising.
I've ever played.
The mothership will be ready for
Everything
the
kind of has an
test
in-story
in 10
point
minutes.
to it, and it doesn't really drag
Mothership.
out too long.
Group 1 designated. Production underway.
Stand by to begin combat trials. First, we will be monitoring formation performance. Target drones have been provided here. Assign a formation to your fighters and destroy the drones.
And I do know the remastered set is coming out. My wife actually pre-ordered it for me before I even realized it was available for pre-order. She got me the big, super fancy edition with the giant honking mothership model, which
Law formation confirmed.
totally blown away by. There's some trepidation with having gearbox involved, and there's a couple reasons why I'm not so nervous. If it does turn out to be a disaster, then honestly, I've spent $100 on stupider things. Oh, what'd I do? Apparently, you can still
Research
click
ship
fraps. That's interesting.
The primary research ship has been
Set my
constructed.
ships to blow that away.
Research division.
But anyway, like I was saying,
Fighter chassis research
Gearbox
division.
software has earned a lot of well-deserved flack lately for Duke Nukem Forever and Aliens Colonial Marines. And while I'm not going to sit here and apologize for them, they kind of earned a pass with me with the Brothers in Arms series, which was a tactical first-person shooter World War II series. Hell's Highway was an absolute disaster, but the first two are some of the greatest first-person shooters I've ever played. And you kind of have to understand the state of first-person shooters when they came out. Everything was the tactical squad-based. You had things like Rainbow Six Vegas, and what am I thinking of? Ghost Recon, then Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter.
Flight analysis
That was
shows
just
a
kind of the state
22%
of
increase in combat
first-person shooting back
performance.
then. You had a squad you were going to command, and it was
The next
really
trial will
complicated.
test the effectiveness of tactics. Stand by.
A
to
lot of
begin
people,
tactics trial.
there was kind of a
Use aggressive
revolt
or
against
evasive
that,
tactics
which led us
and
to
engage
the
the
more
target
Call of Duty
drones.
type shooters that we have now. But the way Brothers in Arms was action-packed, still made you think. Gearbox has got it in them to make a fantastic game. They also have it in them to completely phone it in and release an unmitigated disaster, which, again, I'm not going to assign 100% blame for Duke Nukem Forever and Aliens Colonial Marines. I Duke Nukem. I remember watching Duke Nukem Forever commercials while playing this on my mom's computer back when it was new. So I'm honestly of the mind that there's no way you were going to save that. I never had much of an attachment towards Duke Nukem in the first place. I was more of a Doom guy. I just really couldn't get into Duke Nukem that much, but I definitely understand people's feeling of being let down with having that series just absolutely destroyed. That said, the Homeworld Remastered Edition has Blackbird Studios involved, which are making Homeworld Shipbreakers, and they are made up of a lot of the development team responsible for this game.
Next trial will test the performance of the salvage Corvette.
I understand the trepidation and the things that can go wrong. I'm fully prepared to eat these words if it comes out. Just if they completely ruin it, I will be one of the first screaming on. Well, maybe not screaming on the internet because I'm not that type of guy, but it'll be a pretty acute
construction commencing.
Disappointment. I'm not going to say betrayal, but because I've always got this. I've got Homeworld and Homeworld 2. Never actually got to play Cataclysm, which if I could find a way to legitimately get a hold of that, I would be more than willing to give that a shot, because it's not just more Homeworld, it's new Homeworld to me. But those are just little quick gunnery trials that you send your fighters on at the beginning, blow away the target drones.
Salvage Corvette.
I built my research ship.
Commencing heavy fighter chassis
chassis research. Got my first salvage Corvette, which anyone who's familiar with this game, this is the sneaky bastard that in a lot of people's minds almost ruined the game, and I'm going to abuse the hell out of them. Well, not abuse, because they're pretty fragile. They're easily destroyed if you send them in stupidly, but a large core of my strategy for getting through the game revolves around cutting and exacting use of the salvage frigate, or Corvette. Research progressing along nicely, which I should have started that earlier. It's going to take a while to run down. But for anybody not in the know, some of the things covered in the backstory were most of the pertinent backstory stuff was covered in the intro, but these little guys over here are what they call cryo trays, and each one has 100,000 of this planet's inhabitants in cryogenic sleep. And the whole purpose of this mothership is to carry these on a voyage to find their homeworld, hence the name. But these are just kind of hanging out in the background. What do you think? They probably won't become plot critical later. Tee hee hee. Zoom in on this little guy. Hold Z to activate his special ability, Capture. I really like... This is probably one of my favorite 3D models. It just looks like what a big industrial ship would look like. I say big, I don't think I'm entirely clear on the scale of it, but if I had to guess, if you say that's about the size of an Apache cockpit, it would probably, at least lengthwise, probably be in the same category as a Learjet. So, space tugboat, you know. And it's a pretty old game, but I think because they didn't try to go super detailed on the graphics, they're more expressive than overt, I guess is the best way to put it. It's really held up pretty well. Homeworld 2 even better, because they weren't trying to go for photorealistic. If they had, they could have just put, a brown texture on everything and, called it good. But I think I just heard my interceptor research finish.
Commencing Corvette
start Corvette drive research, and gonna start construction on my first interceptor wing. I don't have enough to actually
production underway.
put all those into to finish them, but I can get a fair amount of them done. And this is where a lot of the criticisms of Homeworld came in. When it first came out, people said, "Oh, it's too hard." What they didn't understand is that you're actually supposed to hang around after the mission and salvage, or pick up resources. By doing that, I almost never am hurting for resources.
Pressure doors sealed.
I'll kind of show that as it goes along.
Standing by.
And you can use the column after the mission to build up and reorganize your fleet, retire things that have been made obsolete,
on your mark.
or that just probably won't fit in your mission profile if you have to build something specifically for a certain mission.
Trigger the hyperspace drive at your discretion.
But yeah, that's the first mission / tutorial. They don't tell you the specifics of camera movement, so I guess I can do a quick demo. Spacebar brings you into sensor mode. Select a ship, not the mothership because it's immobile. I'll select my scout wing, which they're the weakest fighter in the game, but they're the fastest and most maneuverable, so I actually keep these until the end of the mission. Until the end of the game, I mean. Because they're very useful for drawing fire off of larger ships that have slower tracking turrets. While they're wasting time trying to hit what is essentially a flea on crack, your heavy bombers and interceptors can come punch the crap out of them. Usually they'll switch and prioritize your larger ships, but by that time you can drag your scouts off onto something else. But okay, have my scout selected. M key brings up your movement. Pretty basic 2D strategy stuff. And it shows you the range, which is helpful. Hold shift and you can give it a vertical aspect.
Corvette drive research.
It's actually very easy to maneuver these things around.
For construction.
Especially that they came up with this in 1999. This was one of the very first true 3D strategy games. Total Annihilation used height and altitude maps for calculating like firing arcs. Laser weapons had direct line of sight. Artillery actually arced. But this one being in space, you have full 360-degree battlefield range of motion. And this is where I would have started explaining formations and tactic settings for Strikecraft. However, it was halfway through this demonstration that Fraps decided to take a leave of its senses. So I'm going to have to say that for the next mission. I'm really hoping I can get Fraps sorted out. It seems to be a little bit unstable with Homeworld. Could be because it's a really old game, and I've messed with the resolution so I can get 1920 by 1080 on my monitor. I've noticed when I watched the raw file, it was put into a 4:3 aspect ratio while I'm playing on my widescreen monitor. But here, watching it in Lightworks while I'm doing my voiceover here, it's in widescreen. So we'll see how it comes out in the end. It shouldn't matter too much. It's a really great old game, stretched to widescreen or in its original aspect ratio, whatever. So that out of the way, stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll have the next one up. I'll try to get it before next Friday because I don't want my Friday bonus videos to be a whole new series dedicated to one game.